Alright guys, this is your boy Like What I've been doing back with another video. This is part two because I have basically, you already done see John from GVG's part about the gaming industry, about Metroid. So since, me being the Metroid fan that I am, let's take a look at basically these guys are from I forgot what channel, but this is his own channel. So because I've contacted him before, but I know, was it Game Inform? No, I don't want to Game Inform. I'm not gonna, whatever. This is his channel, so I'll go and see what he says. So let's see what he's saying about Metroid Prime 4 as well too, and see how it's gonna be shown off as.
So people have been very critical of Metroid Prime 4's marketing campaign. That's me. I'm
Yep.
people. It's not the fact that it's necessarily bad, but it just doesn't do a whole lot to appeal to non-Metroid fans, which is just very essential because Metroid as a franchise just doesn't sell as well as Nintendo's other franchises, and that just
Yep.
causes a bit of concern for me as a fan because I want this game to do well, I want it to sell enough to where we'll
I want it to do well too. But let's understand and let's be honest. The fervor do not match the sales. So again, is that people just talk shit to not buy the game, or it's always gonna be a niche game? Just like a Star Fox. Star Fox is a niche game too. Let it be what it be. Just give us a good game, Nintendo. That's all I ask for. Jeez. You should appeal to other people. No, it should be who it is. Just keep Metroid, Metroid.
keep getting Metroid games, and the trailers have been doing great at showing actual gameplay. They just don't have an extra level of flash that you would find in a trailer.
Again, gameplay. A bad word now, just as John said too. Oh, I'd rather have the gameplay than a false hope trailer. That's just me. Tell me what I'm buying by showing me what I'm gonna be playing. I don't know. I don't know if that's a radical concept. Instead of giving me all these cinematic trailers, and then the game is nowhere close to that. Watch Dog, the original one.
For Zelda or Mario, although the Viola cycle definitely turned some people onto the idea of picking this game up. Well, it seems my fears of this game not selling that well are being dashed, because according to Amazon US, it is the #1 best-selling game in the Switch 2 category, which is just nuts, and it made me breathe a sigh of relief. Of course, this doesn't encompass every retailer, it's just
Yeah, and let's see if it gets backed up. Just saying, a game like this should sell 10 million easy. I say 10 million because it's on Switch 1 and Switch 2.
the United States Amazon website, but that's still just great to hear because it makes me think that Nintendo is probably smarter than I give them credit for when it comes to marketing this game. Of course, this is just the Switch 2 version. This game is also coming out on Switch 1, and I haven't seen it in the best sellers on Amazon. The #1 game is Super Mario Galaxy 1 and 2, which, hey, I guess that $70 price point wasn't too much for a lot of people. I'm still on the fence on if I'm going to get that because I already own Galaxy 1 on the 3D All-Stars collection.
I have Galaxy 1 and $3 section. I have 1 and 2 on the Wii. I doing it for cartridge. Cartridge lasts longer. I'm gonna go with cartridge.
But I also know that the Switch 2 version of Galaxy 1 has 4K 60 FPS, and I just really don't want to turn that down. I'll think about that some other time. But anyway, let's talk about Metroid Prime 4 Beyond being #1 on the Amazon US bestsellers list. That is just really awesome. It brings me back to the Metroid Dread days. I think that was #1 on a few different websites, not just Amazon. And then
And then again, barely made past 5 and sold 3 million, creeped up to 4, going halfway to 5. Still ain't doing as much as people talked about it.
No, that game wound up being the best-selling Metroid game of all time. I don't know if Metroid Prime 4 is going to beat that record, but I think the fact that it's been #1 for a straight week is quite telling. IGN Deals has stated it's the most pre-ordered game of the last 7 days, which I don't know if they are talking about on Amazon solely, but the fact that the link at the end of that tweet goes to the Amazon page makes me think they're just talking about Amazon. I'm not sure if Target or Best Buy or any of those other retailers are going to release a list of their best sellers, but it's still really cool to see. But why is this? How is this game already #1 on the pre-order charts on Amazon US, specifically in the Switch 2 section? I should state that it's just the Switch 2 version of the game. Why is it so high? Well, I think a number of factors are in place, and it's just especially interesting to see this because a lot of us, not just me, have been critical of this game's marketing campaign. I've already said at the beginning of the video, their trailers, while good at showing gameplay, they don't have a whole lot of pizzazz to appeal to the non-Metroid.
Why lie to them? That's the thing. Again, you guys see what I'm seeing, right? Again, why lie to people? Why give them pizzazz, whatever? They're not gonna buy the game anyway, and why lie to them? Show them what they're gonna get. This is what you're gonna be doing. If you don't like that, then don't buy the game. Tell the truth up front. That's the whole point.
Fans, even some Metroid fans are watching it just like, okay, this looks cool and all, but the trailer itself doesn't excite me any more than I already am. Although, how could you see that motorcycle and not be more excited? I just don't get that.
The bike looks good, it is that, but I'm a true Metroid fan. I was gonna pick up the game anyway. I'm more better because I could see what gameplay is and try to figure out how things are gonna be. That's how I look at it.
But I think just the fact that this game has been in the works for 8 freaking years. I say in the works. It hasn't been developed for 8 years straight. We already know the story about how it started with a different developer that was rumored to be Bandai Namco.
And I'll be with Nintendo. Shame on you. You should have gave it back to it. You should have retro doing the game all the time. Anyway, but things happen for a reason, so I'll let it be what it be.
We don't know for sure, but what mattered was that at the beginning of 2019, they announced that they restarted development with Retro Studios at the helm, the studio that made the original Metroid Prime trilogy. So really, this game has been in development for 6.5 Prime trilogy. So really, this game has been in development for 6.5 years. In short, it's been a long freaking time we've been anticipating this game, and we have seen literally nothing of it. And the fact that we've only had a logo to go off of for 7 years since that announcement was just crazy. People were just going nuts, and by people, I mean me. I was going nuts, wondering what this game even looked like for 7 freaking years. And now we know what it looks like. The title's been updated. It's not just a blue space nebula anymore, and the game is finally coming out in less than 3 months. I don't think people understand how little of a wait we have until this game. I believe it's about 76, 77 days until it comes out. It's not that far away, guys. Like, we're just over 2 months, 2.5 months, I should say, until the game finally comes out on December 4th, 2025. The anticipation is high for this game. Of course, Metroid is not as popular as other Nintendo franchises, but the Metroid fan base is still a powerful beast. Not even just the Metroid fans, I believe Switch 2 owners as well have a big part to play.
The Metroid fans are a powerful beast. No, because they don't buy it, they don't talk, they talk a lot of crap and don't back it up.
In this #1 spot because, you know, they're looking for new Switch 2 games to play. There's no shortage of them, really. I know people want to say Switch 2 has no games, especially after that last Direct, which, yeah, it wasn't that great, but to say there's nothing...
No, there's games to play. I've been playing my Switch 2, since I got it. So, there's games. There are games to play, so it's one of those things where you're like, we're gonna hear crap from people.
to play on Switch 2 is just flat out wrong. But Metroid Prime 4 is one of the most high profile releases for the rest of the year. Of course, we've got Pokemon Legends of ZA also coming out on Switch 1, but then Hyrule Warriors in November along with Kirby Air Riders, and then we're going to cap off the year with Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, and it's going to be exciting. We already know this. Switch 2 owners won't say no to a new game to play, unless it's something they're just not interested in, but Metroid Prime 4 being such a high profile release, regardless of how niche that name is, it still says a lot. And the fact that it's a Metroid game, which is also half of the genre Metroidvania, and we just got a big Metroidvania game in the form of Hollow Knight Silksong.
You mean Metroid game? Again, I ain't with that nonsense. How people say that crap. I hate that. It's a Metroid game. That's all it is. Give Samus some. You see, that's what I'm saying. Y'all don't like to give Samus some flowers. Again, Castlevania took Metroid style and make a game so you can call it. I don't understand how that gets called Metroidvania when it was Metroid who started it. Weird.
That's kind of what I...
And yes, I'll die on that hill because that's logical sense.
want to talk about a little bit too is Hollow Knight Silksong. Now that I've just brought that up, I'm kind of thinking, are people playing Hollow Knight and they're going to want something else to play after the fact? Of course, Prime 4 is not a 2D Metroidvania by any means, but it is part of the franchise that gave us the genre in the first place. So maybe it's just the hype rubbing off of these Silksong fans, but you know, Metroid fans and Silksong fans are a lot of the same people, you know, fans of Metroidvanias. I personally am not a fan of Hollow Knight, like I know I should be since I love Metroidvanias, and they're objectively great games, they just do not click with me at all. But you know, it's great that Hollow Knight fans had their time in the sun with Silksong. They're still having their time, let's be honest. And now Metroid Prime fans are going to have their time really, really soon here. We're kind of having it now. We know when the game's coming out. It's really exciting stuff. So I don't know if the hype of Silksong rubbed off and that's part of why people are pre-ordering this game. Not to mention Silksong and Metroid fans have been in like the same position for a few years, like always wondering, when are we going to see Prime 4? When are we going to see Silksong? And you know, the infamous clown makeup gif. Both fan bases have been wearing clown makeup for a long time. And now that the Silksong fans have wiped it off their faces, it's time for Metroid fans to do that as well. So maybe Silksong sparked some conversation for Metroid Prime 4, but that also just brings me to what I think is probably the most important factor as to why Prime 4 is #1 on Amazon US right now. Word.
As a director of finance.
Word of mouth. Metroid fans have been very vocal, for better and for worse, these past few years, just wanting to see more of this game and claiming that it's going to be an absolute masterpiece when it comes out, because it will be a masterpiece.
I won't say that. As a Metroid fan, I don't say that. I don't agree with what he said. Word of mouth. I am part of it. I will hype up Metroid if I have to. But again, I can't go against my own teachings of, again, hyping up a game, and everybody's different. I can't do that. So, for me, you got to be freaking kidding me. So for me, I can't do that. I gotta be honest with people and just say, hey, it is what it is. Let's go from there. Let's make some, if you think you like a game like this, whatever. Just go, we gotta go with it. And Nintendo doing what I think they should be doing. I like John, like this guy saying, show me gameplay, show me that. That's what I want. But I'm old school Metroid fan, an old school Nintendo fan, because I like to see gameplay of what I'm playing. I don't want to see all the crazy cinematic stuff, really. 1 or 2 here, make it look all cool, but we don't need that. Just give me gameplay. That's what I want. Because again, the reason what we got right now in the gaming industry, because a lot of people want cinematic this and cinematic that. And they don't want no damn gameplay. And then when the game comes out, they get, oh man, this was a crappy game. Well, yeah, exactly. So let's give us like a little game and go from there, and then say, hey, this is what you get into. If you like it, buy it. If you don't like it, don't buy it. I'd rather that than to lie to people. That's the difference.
When it comes out. This is Retro Studios we're talking about here. And so when people talk, other people will listen. I will name a personal example as well. Kingdom Hearts 3. I don't give two craps about that franchise at this point in my life, but when it did come out, I decided, even though I've never finished 1 and 2, I might just jump into 3, like just to see what all the fuss is about, see if the game itself is pretty good. Ultimately, it was a game I somewhat enjoyed, but didn't ultimately love, but I think it goes to show how hype rubs off on people, even those who wouldn't have checked out these games in the first place. I will admit, the Silk Song hype kind of got to me, you know? Like, I almost bought that game, but I just knew after watching gameplay footage that this wouldn't be the game for me, so I decided to just not even pick it up. But I know that a lot of people picked that game up because, you know, it's just been talked about for so long, and that's the same case for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. People have been talking about this game for pretty much the entirety of the Switch 1's life, and that was a long stinking time, and it's always been on the back of people's minds, even those who just saw that title at E3 2017 and felt nothing, like that was kind of in the back of their heads for ages. And so to see this mythical game that we've been talking about for ages finally get a release date, it's kind of like, you know, maybe I should pick this game up and see what all the fuss is about. And I will say, if you are one of those people, you should definitely check out Metroid Prime Remastered before you jump into Metroid Prime 4. Like, I hope Prime 2 and 3 get released on the Switch, but in the meantime, you should just check out Prime Remastered. It's very good. And you know, this whole word of mouth thing is probably why we haven't seen, like, the best trailers for Metroid Prime 4, because Nintendo knows that Metroid fans will be ultimately the ones to sell this game. Never underestimate word of mouth. Let me tell you, it is a very powerful tool.
I will say you're correct on that, but I don't trust the Metroid fans as much as you say. I don't trust those fuckers, because again, a lot of people talk that shit, and then mess it up for a lot of people. So I don't. That is not my cup of tea of seeing how these people do stuff. So I'll leave it at that.
I'm trying to think of some recent examples of a game that was basically, here's one, the first Hollow Knight. Like, let's be honest, I remember when that game was released, or like when I think it released, because it released and it was just kind of like there. It was just a game that was there. There was no like huge pre-release hype for it, except for those who contributed to the Kickstarter. But you know, people were talking about Hollow Knight like it was the next best thing since sliced bread, and then it was. I even think Undertale also had a similar word of mouth going for it. Of course, things are a little different because those games are like way cheaper than Metroid Prime 4 is going to be. Like, they're 15 to 20 bucks. But even still, I'd like to think that that's what happened with Metroid Dread. I feel like it is insane that that game sold as well as it did, because it's a 2D.
It should have sold more than it did. That's why I have a problem with it. The way people are talking about it, it should have sold way, way more, but didn't, because of BS. So, no, I feel slighted on that one. Very slighted.
Metroidvania game, and the most popular games in that genre are really cheap indies that you can find on Steam or even on digital storefronts. Like, it's almost unheard of for any other Metroidvania game to have a price point higher than like $30, but here's Metroid Dread at $60, still sold over 3 million units.
Okay.
Still sold over 3 million units. That is insane to me. I know the Switch effect helped a lot in that, like any game franchise that was coming out on Switch was just destined to be the best-selling game in said franchise almost all the time. Yeah. But now it's time for the Switch 2 effect to take place. And it's still coming out on Switch 1, so it's going to help there. And people are going to buy it on Switch 1 because, again, the box art on Switch 1 is superior. You can debate me all you want, but it is a fact of life. But speaking of word of mouth, I'm going to use the power of my mouth to talk about my friend Eric's game Lucid, which now has a demo on Steam.
Okay, good for that. That's all great. That's not what I'm here for. I'm here for Metroid. Good. Check out Lucid.
Prime 4 is doing so well on at least one storefront. I really just thought that this game wasn't being set up for success by Nintendo. What with the release in December, and games don't usually do that well in December, although I was just informed that Xenoblade Chronicles 2 is still the best-selling game in the Xenoblade franchise, and that also released in that same time frame. So maybe I'm just an idiot. Like, maybe because I thought Indiana Jones and the Great Circle didn't get its
I'm not going to say nothing. I'll leave it as it is, sir.
flowers because it released in December. Every game released in December is just destined for the same fate. But it really seems like Nintendo does know what they're doing, because look at those sales numbers, those pre-order numbers for Prime 4 on Amazon. Numbers, and also, everyone's talking about that Viola.
Pre-order. Sales is sales. Sorry, that's what we're going to go with. You pre-order all you want. I need to see hard cash facts, my boy.
Cycle, be it good or bad, and you know, there's no such thing as bad publicity. I still hope that come November we get either a Metroid Prime 4 Direct or a really good overview trailer showing stuff that we didn't know about the game without being too spoilery.
I agree with you on that.
I do think maybe Nintendo's being a little protective of this game, because the marketing for Metroid Dread, it was obviously good because that game sold really well, but by the end of that marketing campaign, it showed maybe a little too much. Once they released that Dread report showing all the locations of the game, I was like, I'm not reading that. You guys are showing way too much. Please calm down. And it's tough to find that balance between like showing too much and showing too little. Maybe Prime 4 is just above the showing too little mark. I don't think they're showing like way too little, but of course they could probably show a little more. Of course, it's tough to find that balance between being spoilery and not, but whatever they're doing, it's apparently working, at least if you shop on Amazon US. I really hope that this game succeeds, and I am just very excited for December 4th. So let me know what you think in the comments below. How do these sales numbers make you feel? How else would they make you feel? Why would they make you feel sad? Why am I...
Well, they don't make me feel sad, but they don't make me feel like, oh, this is going to be the greatest thing since Slight Dread. Because again, that's what happened with Dread, as you just point out. And it ain't sold over 5 million on a console that has almost 150 star base. Metroid's niche. Keep it niche and done with it. All right? I want Metroid Prime 4 to sell. I do. But I'm not going to hype myself up when I know time after time people talk it up, and then they don't back it up with their money. So I don't feel that way. I want the game to come out. I'm happy with what they're showing. They're showing gameplay. That's all I need to see. I need to see how the game plays. It's good, and that's what I want, and that's what it works for me. As you said, you're correct. That's for me. That's not for the new Metroid fans. There are over 15 games. If none of those games appeal to you that you could buy legally, please, and not emulate like freaking Fusion and what's the other one? And of course, original Super Metroid, duh. Yeah. And again, I have a video about Metroid Other M, because again, I'm one of the few Metroid fans that love Metroid Other M, and I think it's a really good game. It has its flaws, but it's like my saying, which I'm gonna say right now: there's no perfect game out there. What's perfect to you is not perfect to me. What's perfect to me is not perfect for you. Just simply enjoy games on all consoles, including PC and mobile devices. That's all it is. Peace out.